morning, guys. This is Untitled with Inside High School Hoops. My co-host, Brian Burton, he's not here. Congratulations on him on birth of his third daughter, girl dad. Kobe named her Kobe. So congratulations, Brian. We'll see you soon. But we got High School Hoops. Yeah, ISO on. So it's been a really crazy week of high school basketball. UIL state playoffs is underway. I mean, we're actually to the final game. We're at the championship game this Friday, Saturday, and even in TAP, the private school association. We're into the championship game as well. So a lot of crazy basketball, a lot of fun. Got to watch a lot of really high level basketball games. So we'll get started. Went to watch Waxahachie in Duncanville. There was probably about 800 people in that game. It was at Waxahachie. Duncanville lost the coin flip. And, Duncanville took a loss to Waxahachie in district. They actually had a double to the fourth, and then Waxahachie came back and won. Duncanville actually secured a 17-point lead at half. And Waxahachie came back, actually got within 2 points. Couldn't really get over the hump and take the lead in the second half, and Duncanville ultimately won 70-65. Some standouts there. Sam Houston signed Damon Nicholas. Really been impressive. You can arguably say that he's been Duncanville's best and most consistent offensive performer throughout the season. Really gets into his mid-range game, tough, strong, gritty defender. Damon, just with his size and position, he can get a lot done. He can get a lot done. So definitely like what Damon is able to do there. Hold on one second, guys. I think we're having bad signal. So let me get onto here.
Welcome to All Access Coaches Corner, where our mission is to serve coaches, share their stories, and spotlight their programs with our host, Brian Burton. A longtime successful college basketball coach, former championship collegiate point guard, husband, and father, Brian is now the Vice President of Rising Coaches Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Alliance for men's basketball, an empowerment coach and founder of B3 Legacy Sports and the All Access Network. Sports broadcaster and host for All Access Coaches Corner and All Access Sports Media, Coach Burton is now using his successes, experiences, and connections to be a point guard in the sports industry at all levels, with a mission to help others to further their success. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and join us in the All Access Coaches Corner.
All right, guys, my bad. We had some technical difficulties, but I'm back. But yeah, just continue with Duncanville and Waxahachie. Damon Nicholas has been very strong. Zurich Phelps played a real strong role. Another really strong two-way player that can really get to the basket, finish, defends with physicality, really can get into the personal space of the opposing guards. So been really impressed with just those two. Probably been, you could say, between them two, CJ Ford, who's a 2022, who's a junior point guard, that those three right there in the backcourt, just that guard play, just been the most consistent. I would say it's the best that we have in Dallas and in the state. CJ, another one that, really gets the spots, finishes it through contact, developing a floater game. His shot off the catch is getting better. Duncanville was just really a handful for Waxahachie. The pace, tipping a lot of passes, taking charges. Waxahachie just had a hard time just getting a consistent scoring balance and really just defensively just getting back. But CJ Nolan was very solid. Just a bully guard, really gets to his spots, gets the paint and finish through contact. CJ, Oklahoma signee, I think will definitely play a quality role for OU. Just with his body, positional size, I think he's really developed better as a passer, ball handler. Shooting's coming along. I think his shooting has the potential. His mechanics are fine. I think there's some real upside there. Jalen Lake was steady in the first half. Didn't really play much in the second. He has a Colorado State signing. Really can shoot off the catch. Does a good job attacking closeouts. I think he got hurt late in the first half, so I didn't really see a whole lot of him in the second. But he was solid. He was solid. I did like what I saw from Prince Banks, 2022 kid, like a strong power type wing that gets on the glass, finishes on straight line drives. Defensively, I saw some real steady play from him, but I just like his overall hustle, and I think he provides some inside out offensive capabilities there. I thought that was my first time really getting to see Prince Banks and really get to evaluate him, because I haven't really got to see Waxahachie play a whole lot, but I was impressed by him. But Duncanville ended up winning there, and then they advanced to the Final Four, which traditionally would be played in San Antonio, the Final Four and the championship, but this year, just due to COVID, that only the championship games are on Friday, are in San Antonio that Friday, Saturday. But they got to play Richardson last night. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about some other. We'll talk about some other things. Some other games. Kimball was in a showdown versus Lancaster. Didn't get to see that, but Kimball ended up winning, which helped me with my prediction on who's going to win 5A. The championship game is looking exactly like I said. You can put the little crystal ball behind me. I know we don't have that. We don't have that emoji yet, but put the crystal ball on me. But Kimball, they beat Lancaster in OT. It was a really, really strong one. I believe Lancaster had a 17 or 18 point lead going to the fourth. Wade Taylor, A&M signee, got to see some of the highlights, and I got to see probably about 2 quarters of film. Played really well. I thought Elijah Huey from West Kentucky was solid. Lancaster also has Dorian Goodman, who's a 2022 guard. UNT signing Kriston Morgan. But for Kimball, Arterio Morris, premier junior prospect in this class, was solid. Really gets the spots. He uses his length. Really, when he commits to defensive end, can be disruptive. Big time athlete. But the man of the hour was Chauncey Gibson. Chauncey was getting a lot done. Really started rebound the basketball offensively. You see what he can do off the bounce, and he just showing more toughness and grit, which was something that you didn't see from Chauncey, especially on a consistent basis. And it was just very erratic, just with his this high motor play. But you're definitely seeing it there. He's one of those kids that the playoffs has really boosted his stock. But when I got to see him in the summer, towards July and August, started kind of figuring out a little bit, had some steady play, started playing some 17U towards the end of the summer. And you got to really see what he's capable of being. I think he's a high major prospect. I think this playoffs has kind of led people to see that. And I think he'll use this and use this momentum for a strong summer. But Kimball had a big time win. They're a very talented group. Kimball's a very talented group. Coach Nick Smith, he's been doing a good job just kind of managing the troops, and now they're there in the championship game. Then they had a big game against Amarillo. So some other notes: Dallas Madison lost to Tatum. I was wrong on that prediction. In the 3A, Tatum. Don't know really any of the prospects there. I had a couple guys go in and watch the game. Really well coached. Dallas Madison's no joke. I predicted them to win it all. I thought it wasn't going to be very hard, but Tatum came in. They were down by double digits in the fourth quarter, which is kind of a theme. I've been seeing a lot of double-digit deficits getting erased in the playoffs, and you see that in high school basketball. You even see in the collegiate level. But been a real theme of seeing guys team's 10-point deficit getting erased, or 10, 12, whatever double-digit deficit is getting erased. So definitely shout out to Tatum. That's a huge win. They have Cole going to the championship game. Cole, I talked to Tim about it. He felt that they were going to go to the state championship game. Definitely after losing a kid like Vince Iwuchukwu for Lamir coming back and getting to the game and having a really good chance of winning it all. So that's going to be a really entertaining game between Tatum and Cole. I know it's everyone expected it was going to be a Madison Cole sequence again, but I think this Tatum and Cole game is going to be really, really interesting. I'll let we got Jim Hicks and Alan Branch on the show today, so I'll let Mr. Hicks talk about Houston. Other news and notes: Amarillo been playing really well. They had a big win against Timberview. They kind of been rolling through in 5A, and they had a big game against Kimball. So now we're talking some Final Four. Went to overtime. It was always a close game, always about 3-4, possession type game. And for Amarillo, Brendan Hausen, he's a 2022 guard, been really solid, more than solid. been their best offensive producer as far as just scoring, assists. He's been handling pressure well. He plays at his own pace, which I really like. Me personally, I didn't think that the game would have been that tight because I know how Kimball's pace and play, how they get at you. I was wondering how Amarillo was going to handle that pressure for 4 quarters. Well, I guess 5, but did a really good job. Got to watch the game. Kimball tried to get at him. Kimball tried to speed him up, and Brendan and crew did a really good job just kind of playing at their own pace and executing and just, kind of picking apart the defense a little bit, when guys weren't at their spots. They also have a big man. They have two bigs, but one's a big in Cade Hornecker, really walls up and disrupts driving lanes and, really uses his length and size. And in the post, his back-to-basket games are really solid. So been impressed by him. Been impressed by just his overall productivity. Sometimes his box score stats doesn't say a whole lot, doesn't just like pop out at you, but he's been a 10 to 12 rebound a game person in the playoffs. So impressed by him. DeMonze Woods, that's another 2022, and Amarillo is going to be very strong next year because you got your core pieces are coming back, and DeMonze athletic, long hybrid type forward that just gets a lot done. Another one that 6 points, 8 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 blocks, dives for every loose ball. DeMonze has really turned into himself into a legitimate Division I prospect. Now, I don't know what level. I can't just pinpoint what level yet, but he's definitely a Division I prospect. Kimball, like I talked about earlier, Chauncey Gibson was big. Arterio Morris was very solid. And another kid that I have to know, Kyren Henderson. Kyren Henderson, he's a 2022 for Kimball. Been putting up big-time box score stats. Against Highland Park, I believe he had 19 points, 16 rebounds. Against Lancaster, another big-time double-double. And then I heard against Amarillo was very, very solid. Kyren Henderson, when people talk or think about him, I know he had an incident in the playoffs last year against Lancaster, and people talk about his attitude and this, that, and the third. But I've been seeing a fairly poised Kyren, and I've been seeing a Kyren that's getting a lot done and and being productive on both ends. He's someone as well. I know big time football player, but has a chance of playing Division I basketball as well. So that's what, that Kimball Amarillo game, wish I could have seen it, but wish I could have been there live, but definitely wasn't going to drive 4 hours to go watch him play. But that's just some of the notes from when I went back and watched it. I was at SMU, though, for Richardson and Duncanville. And, Richardson, you got Cason Wallace. You got Rylan Griffin. And, they're 2022 players as well. And I've been naming a lot of 2022 guys in the state of Texas and nationally, period. I mean, it's a very deep class. But, for Richardson, you got a big-time backcourt that arguably, in the South, you say are the 2 better, it's a two better backcourt tandem in the South. And then you got Duncanville, who just, we know who Duncanville is, but Duncanville got at him early. Well, actually, Richardson came up. They had like a 6-point lead early. Case and Walls had 6 points in the first quarter, was hitting some really tough shots. They were getting after the energy and just the atmosphere, which is big time. And I was just happy that SMU could have been the location for a game like that. But Kason Wallace, strong physical guard, has good feel. His jumpers improved a lot. Defensively, can I name 3 better individual defenders in the state? I can't. He's a big-time individual defender. And even a help side defender, really alters and blocks shots, gets off the floor quick. But Richardson got an early lead. Rylan Griffin got in the groove early, hit a big-time mid-range jumper. Duncanville defense was just suffocating. Zurich Phelps, again, SMU commit, and playing his future home. He had 4 steals in the first half. A lot of tip passes, was just active, was just super active. Got to the basket, was being aggressive from the jump. Damon Nicholas was just really getting after it as well defensively. He was just really speeding the opposing guards up some. Damon, he's like Kaysen. You don't realize how quick they can get off the floor and really can alter jump shooters and things along the lines of that. But for Duncanville, and I forgot to mention him in the Waxahachie game, but here he was a big difference. That was Ronald Holland. He had 22 points. He's a 2023, and some there's national athletes that have him top 15 in the country, and he's definitely earned it. Which is play. 22 points, had to have about 10 rebounds. I counted 3 blocks. Ronald Holland, just a big time motor, tough kid that just, he's starting to really gain some flexibility offensively as well as, more. You saw him as a guy that could just finish off like lobs or dump offs or just putbacks. But now, he's starting to utilize his speed, when he faces up from 15, 18 feet out and just go by the bigger defender. And his energy is just, his energy is just beautiful. You may be able to get him a little bit in that first, second quarter, but that third and fourth quarter, he's still bringing it in. And it's like a fight. To me, it's just, you can get him early, but Ron's going to get back up. He's going to keep attacking, going to keep being aggressive, and he was doing those things, and it was a big time performance by him. Duncanville ended up winning by 20 points. Kaysen and Rylan, they struggled, especially going to later in the second quarter and going to in just the rest of the game. The shots were just hard to come by. Duncanville's defense, arguably, I haven't seen a defense, me personally, from a school that has been better than Duncanville's just overall team defense. And David Peavy's done a hell of a job with that group. You kind of look at Duncanville, they're going to graduate a couple seniors, and obviously it's not over. They still got a championship game, but for years to come, how it's looking like, I mean, this is what it's looking like. Someone told me it's Duncanville University. That's the feel you're getting. It's going to be hard to beat Duncanville, especially when they get going. It's going to be very hard. So they got Austin Westlake going into the championship game this Saturday at 7. That should be a good one. Austin Westlake defeated Tascasita by 13 yesterday. KJ Adams, I saw, had 24 points. That's a Kansas signing, 2021 player. Heard he really used his strength, was physical. He's one kid that he's a tough cover because you can put a bigger kid on him, like a taller kid, because you say about like 6'6", 6'7". You can get a bigger kid, but he knows how to he got solid foot speed. He really get by guys and get to the basket. You put a smaller guy, I mean, he's just going to eat him alive. And it doesn't have to be a shorter, just a thinner kid. I mean, he's just going to work to eat him alive. KJ Adams is a very physical specimen, gets a lot done. Ian Mawat had a really solid game for Austin Westlake too. They got Nakari Igihan. Austin Westlake, they're back into the championship form, and I know Duncanville and even me, I picked Duncanville to win the game, but Austin Westlake is going to be very, very tough. And I think this game could really go down the wire. It has the potential to, but I still do have Duncanville winning it. Over in 5A, Beaumont United, they handle business. They played Glenn, I believe Lander Glenn, and won pretty convincingly. I know it was more than 20 points. Terrence Arsenault, Wesley Yates. I know I'm missing a few guys over there. I know Traylon Portier's out there. It's a 2023 kid. Beaumont United is 30-0. I didn't realize they haven't lost a game all season. And they're in the showdown versus Kimball, and that's going to be a hell of a game. That 5A game is must watch. And I'll be down there, with you got the star power. you got the pace of play, you got size, you got a heavy amount of Division I prospects in that game. And I picked Beaumont United to win it all in 5A. And I'm gonna stay with that pick, but that's gonna be a 1 or 2 possession game going throughout the whole season. Throughout the whole game. That's going to be a really, really entertaining game. I think the 5A and 6A championship games are going to be really entertaining. They're filled with Division I prospects and got good coaching. You got really, really good coaching. So I don't expect any blowouts there. 4A, I do know in 4A, I think Huffman is playing. Let me see. We got Huffman going against Argyle, and that was a very that was a very, very interesting one. No one picked Argyle to beat Faith Family in the last night, and they did. Argyle came in. Don't really know any players. I know they have a 6A senior that I really need to keep my eyes on him, and I'm definitely going to look at him very heavily. I forgot his name, but he's a kid that, made an impact in the game. Faith Family, who was loaded, just definitely on paper. And Coach Bryant, BT, he does a hell of a job with his boys. Got Jordan Walsh as a 2022 kid. Dallas Hobbs, who's a junior, who's really coming along as a player, shooting the ball at a high clip from 3. TJ Caldwell, who's a freak athlete that's really coming along as a ball handler and scorer. They got Brandon Davis. They're just loaded. Faith Family's loaded, and congrats to Argyle for holding them within. I think it was 43-39, I believe was the score. So holding Faith Family to 39 points, very impressive. That's very impressive. That's very hard to do, especially with the players that they have and the pace that they do like to play. So, gonna be a good one against Huffman. Huffman has Harvey, who's a 2021 kid who's really been productive. Jeffrey Day, who we had on the show last week, he was talking about how Jacob Harvey's been, getting a lot done. And I think that's going to be a really good game. Argyle is very well coached. Huffman is very well coached. And he had Huffman winning it. He had Huffman going to the state championship. He didn't want to, Jeffrey didn't want to pick who was actually going to win it. But I'm not really too familiar with either team. So, it wouldn't be fair for me to make a prediction, but I do think that's going to be a good game. There are some players there that I really need to go take a look at. So that's in the UIL. TAPS. we had a big time game. There was a lot of big time games yesterday. You had John Paul II and Bishop Lynch, who I believe they met for the 4th time, or 3rd or 4th time this season. And this may not have been 4 times this season, maybe 4 times within this season, last season. But John Paul II, they're reigning 6A TAPS champions. You got a big time backcourt in Jalen Tyson and Manny Obaseki. Tyson's a Texas Tech signee. Manny Obaseki is a Texas A&M signee. And man, just watching some of the clips and just kind of just following, big time game. Bishop Lynch, they have Bryce Davis, who's a 2022 player who's very intriguing. And they got Old Dominion signee Emo Essien, who was big time today. They said Emo, I was looking at Emo just really getting to his spots. And Emo's a kid, I've known Emo since he was in 6th grade. And just to see how he's come along as a jump shooter and also how he's just come along. He's always been someone that can facilitate. but just as a scorer and shooter, he's made some humongous strides, and really been excited to see that. I mean, he was a big time asset for this game. You would say he was the player of the game. I was talking to a couple guys that were there, and they say he was just the difference maker. He really got a lot done, and Bishop Lynch actually got the win. They won by 4 points, I believe, and that's huge. I mean, John Paul II's been on a roll. I think they've only lost one game this year, and that was early on against Waxahachie. I got to play John Paul II, so definitely not an easy opponent. I lost a buzzer beater, but they're very tough. Coach Dan Lee does a hell of a job with his group, and Coach Mays at Bishop Lynch does a hell of a job with his boys. And for them to have the game plan, and for them to really come in there in a situation like that against reigning champs, you're not pegged to win, to get in there and win that game and then advance to the championship game. That's huge. So, in my opinion, it was whoever won that game wins the whole thing. And so, Bishop Lynch, they came out victorious. So I do expect them to win and finish it out. But that was, it was hard because you have so many games, and obviously it's impossible. You want to be at multiple places at the same time. But really good time of high school basketball. You really enjoy the playoffs. You enjoy the atmosphere and just the aggressiveness and just the play-by-play, just performance by guys. You get to really evaluate guys. You get to really see who's stepping up. Every year there's always a senior or always a junior that steps up. Really wasn't high on your radar or maybe lower on the rankings than they should, and they come in and they perform. So love high school basketball, love playoff basketball, and this is just what it is. But let's take a quick break. We're gonna have Jim Hicks on the show. He's coming soon, and we get to chop it up. He's gonna talk Houston basketball. I'm asking for his predictions, so we'll see you soon.
I want to take time to acknowledge one of our partners, Rising Coaches. Every coach wants to rise in their career in one way or another. We're all looking for professional development, access to tools, and relationships that can help us grow and help us advance in our career. Rising Coaches provides just that. You can visit Rising Coaches at www.risingcoaches.com. Their memberships are just $10 a month and provides a genuine community to help you grow and advance in your career.
All right, guys, so we're back, and we're about to get Jim Hicks on, but definitely want to talk about going into I know it's a little premature, but before we get into that, I was going to talk some summer ball stuff, but I definitely want to talk about some of the memories that I had going into, San Antonio. I love going to San Antonio. It was the first time about 3 years ago. And people were like, man, it's the first time you ever, and I never went to the Alamo Dome for the UIL state playoffs. And even though it's only been 3-4 years, but I've had tremendous memories. You talk about Tyrese Maxey. Remember, he had 42 points in the semifinal game for South Garland. I believe they played a team out of Houston that had Jamal Bienemy. I don't know why I forgot the name, but seeing a kid like Tyrese Maxey, who's now with Philadelphia, put up a strong statistical performance like that. Again, I mentioned a couple episodes ago about Trey Clayton, who had a 40-point performance against Houston Yates in the state semifinal game, and then watching Jordan Walsh hit the game-winning dunk, at the end for them to win the state championship game. I mean, I've had really, really fond memories, even watching Jemias Ramsey and Micah Peavy in the state championship game, and seeing Micah Peavy really, come to his own. That was his junior year, and took over, and you saw him make leaps. You saw him make a leap in his game just within just our eyes. And that's what I was talking about earlier before we got on break, is that these games you get to see. You get a real evaluation, because sometimes you can watch a kid play They can be really good during the season. They can put up a stats against a so team. He can even be a legitimate team. When we were talking about, I was talking about this to somebody yesterday, was, someone can have a big performance, depending on the team. It can be a really good game. It can be a really good team, or it can just be a mediocre team. But I always feel like when you get in the playoffs, when it's a winner go home situation, you really get to see what that kid's about. And it doesn't, just one game doesn't define a kid, right? I wouldn't say it just completely defines a kid, but you do get a better feel for how that kid is. And in that game, I remember vividly just how Micah Peavy, got in the post, was physical, strong, was really getting his teammates involved defensively, was just getting after it. He had a good season, but that game right there, you know what it was about to happen going forward. And he's having a pretty good season with Texas Tech. But, I just love going to San Antonio. You get to see what kids are made of. You get to see what you even look at the coaches and the adjustments. They're going to throw the whole kitchen sink at you. Just the whole atmosphere is just fantastic. And I know we're in a pandemic right now. I know we got COVID, but and I know it's not going to be the same like how it was earlier, where you got thousands of people on the show. We had thousands of people in the Alamo Dome, but definitely excited just to go back in, just the whole vibe, and you're close to downtown. So, definitely excited about this weekend. But we got Jim Hicks on the, wait, I guess he's going through some technical difficulties. We're all kind of going through it today. I was going through it earlier. But, we excited about the spring and summer. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We're going in. Jim Hicks, who runs the spring icebreaker. He's been doing that for years. I'll definitely be in Houston that following weekend to go catch that. I know we don't know when college coaches really will be able to come out and watch the boys play, but there's a lot of really good players and a lot of talent, and I'm glad that I'll be able to start my evaluating of the spring and summer in the spring. Last year we started out in June. Last year we started out in June. It was I think June 19th. I think Dallas Showtime Classic was where it all started. But this year we get to start early, March 19th through 21st. You got Jim Hicks Icebreaker, and that's kind of been tradition of mine. I haven't been in the game for a long time. It's been tradition of mine to make sure I go out to Houston and catch that. But there's a lot of really good players in the state. It's in the South. I'll be traveling some. I'll be going out of state, going to the East, West Coast, Midwest. So really, really excited, just to be able to start in March again. It may sound like something little, but, starting from June, going to September, then getting to the school season, probably early September, October, was kind of different. But if I encourage all these players, and I talked about it last week, playing hard, and Alan Branch told me what playing hard is. He would always tell the players in the camp that playing hard is playing each possession like it's the last 2 minutes of a championship game. And even these summer games, in the club season, when sometimes you may play 2 or 3 games in a day, I still do encourage guys. Things are gonna be live streamed. You never know who's watching. You got to play each possession. Like it's a state championship game. It's a winner going home atmosphere. And I think you get your best play when you do that. I think when you step on the court, you want to perform at the end of the day. So I think, what does your best performance look like? That's you going hard each possession. So I definitely want to see that more in the club season. Going to watch as many kids as I can. I'm going to be covering a whole lot. So definitely excited. Definitely excited, just to catch all these. But I definitely encourage players just to play hard. Just go each possession like it's your last. We got Jim Hicks. I think we solved his audio issue, so let's get him on.
What's going on, guys? Ollie, what's going on?
What's good, Coach? How are you?
Boy, a lot of people then canceled hotel rooms to San Antonio over the past 2 weeks.
They're booking it that prematurely?
That's what it smelled like to me now. It smelled like a lot of people in canceled some hotel rooms. A lot of people that booked in. Hey, back in the old days, like you go to certain events, you had to guarantee that you was going to stay multiple nights back in the old days. You lost money. But there's people in Greater Houston who booked hotel rooms that had to cancel. There's people in DFW that booked hotel rooms and as of last night had to cancel. And this has been, I guess, an intriguing high school season, to say the least, all things considered, with the COVID and the pandemic. But here we are, two teams standing. Man.
Talk about some games you've been able to watch. I do agree. It's been a very interesting season. It's still kind of weird that you're going to San Antonio to watch the championship game. You're not going there to watch the semis and then the championship like traditionally we would. But just talk about how the atmosphere has been. Like these semifinal games last night. How have they been compared to when they were in San Antonio?
Well, I mean, Delmar, last night I was at Delmar Fieldhouse, and that's where the doubleheader took place. You had Beaumont United, they rolled to the victory, and then you also had Huffman in the nightcap. And the atmosphere at Delmar was nice. I mean, but the first game, Beaumont United just hit them on the chin so quick, so early. They were up nearly 28-9 after the first quarter. And so the crowd was just somber because Beaumont United was clearly that much better last night than Leander Glenn. Well, that second game, it was intriguing from beginning to end. And I actually left at the half because Jeffrey Day and Doug Jones were there as well, and they can take it on in, and I got on back in. And but first half was intriguing, and of course Huffman, a team that nobody really saw coming. But if you were paying attention to the 4A ranks, or especially in Greater Houston, and you noted that this team, they were solid, they weren't scared, they played in a couple of fall ball events and made their presence felt. You're going back and you see, of course, this Huffman team knocked out Silsby last week. Silsby knocked out Yates the week before. And it's kind of like, the uncertainty from certain teams that people had anointed to either win, place, or show. They fell by the wayside for one reason or another. But this team, Huffman, I'm gonna tell you one thing. They had the best crowd, the most spirited student section of anything I've seen in the playoffs this year. This team, when they get to San Antonio, they're Class 4A, so they're gonna play Saturday, I think, at 2 p.m. Yes. They will be heard because that Alamo Dome, it echoes real good. I mean, one year, the first year they had bats flying around the place. I mean, but you can hear them flapping their wings. But I'm telling you, they roll deep from Huffman. So shout out to them, man. That program, they got it done.
Yeah. Talk about who I know about Jacob Harvey some, but who's really been playing well for Huffman?
Well, I mean, it's been a collective effort from those guys, and a couple of the guys, I don't even know how to pronounce the last names. So I don't want to chop the last name.
I'll be doing that.
I chop their last name clean up if I say a couple of names. But they are tough. They have a little razzle dazzle to them. So you have a team. You have one black kid on the team. Yeah, and the team, they really love playing together. There's nobody on this team trying to go to the McDonald's All-American game. There's nobody on this team saying, well, I got to hit 25 because I need to get ranked. I need to go from 4-star to 5-star. There isn't none of this on this team. It's straight team. They're buying in. And then guess what? when you get situations like, and I'm just gonna tell you, I'm gonna say it. When you get some situations, when you get a predominantly white basketball team that's playing in a predominantly black metropolitan area or region, they will often, if they're gelling, if you see it come a time and every now and then, they will use that as their motivation. It's like we're going to show you. You think we just a bunch of opies? No, we for the kick. Get up in there. We gonna, and that's what Huffman does. They hit shots. They make the extra pass. They are fun to watch. I'm telling you, honey, they are.
No, absolutely. I'm excited to see them. You know, I've heard a lot of really good things about them, and to know I didn't know that only one black kid. But you are right. And you know, in a situation like that, those type of kids, they do use as motivation. You know, they're like, hey, you know, we got something to really prove here, and they're really doing that, and that's that's just a huge. I mean, they never gone this far before, correct?
I think that they went not to the state finals. I think they made it to the state tournament a few years back, but not to the state finals. Okay. And you know, like I said, what can you? I mean, the thing is, I mean, you have to you love the story. You root for those kids. You know, understand that it's a long fight, and then especially in playing in the city, sometimes you play in metropolitan areas, and you feel like you don't get enough. You don't get the due respect that you want. And what I always tell people, just keep winning. Because if you keep winning, then one thing about people when you win is that it's almost impossible for me to ignore if you're winning. And for anybody to ignore, that just keep winning, especially if you're a guard. And that just comes now. Most people don't want to put in the input it takes to keep winning. And it's not easy to do. But in life, if you keep winning, people can't ignore you. And that's what I look at in force of the basketball for some of these kids and teams and their situations as they move forward.
Absolutely. So no, that's very true. That's as real as it gets. Beaumont United, you know, the 30-0. They got a game against Kimball. I think that's the game of the weekend. Just my opinion. Do they finish it? Do they finish the season undefeated?
I think that the stage is set, and it's so many undercurrents that's going to take place for this 5A classification state championship. Beaumont United, Dallas Kimball. Of course, Beaumont United, the school doesn't have much history because they've only been playing varsity for about 3 years. This was the merge. This was the consolidation of Beaumont Central and Beaumont Ozen. And both of those teams were perennial powerhouses from out of Beaumont. Well, you have Beaumont United. Dallas Kimball have often traveled into the Beaumont area to play in holiday tournaments in past years. Dallas Kimball is very familiar with the Beaumont area. The Beaumont area is very familiar with Dallas Kimball. Nick Smith, this advancement to the state tournament for Dallas Kimball, it moves a huge, I think it clears the path for Nick Smith to become a Hall of Fame coach, a first ballot Hall of Fame coach, if indeed he can advance and win this game. Because now, think about it, you will have beat. Think about it. Dallas Kimball lost 10 games this season, guys.
Yeah,
10 games for you to any team that lost 10 games playing against a team that's undefeated for the state championship. That is considered a somewhat of a you're an underdog.
Yeah.
That's David versus Goliath. And it may not look like it when you all things considered, but that's what it is. Dallas Kimball is led by one of the top players in the country.
Yeah, Ontario Morris.
And Ontario, that Beaumont United is led by a young man who's on the rise, who's been on the rise since last summer. He's been winning and turning heads last summer. Parents also know. And people were looking at him. It's kind of like you look at a player and understand he has some work to do with his development, but we're not talking about the big scope of things. This isn't grassroots basketball. It doesn't take all 5 tools and do everything in order to excel in the high school team. It takes you playing your role and your guys feeding in and you executing properly, which that doesn't mean you don't have to do it in the grassroots. But right now, the role is different. Arsenal is playing the 5 on defense with his team a lot.
Oh, okay.
He ain't never playing the 5 in grassroots basketball a month from now. You see the difference in the role, but he embraces that role. What he does is it gives him an opportunity to rest a lot on the court. You see, because he's sitting there, so he rests. I watched him really close. I've seen him play about 4 times this year. Now, it's not just Terrence Arsenal. Once again, we have him ranked number 2 in the area behind Bryce Griggs on RCS Sports. Talking about Arsenal. Arsenal is about 6'6". He's long. He's similar to Arterio Morris and Dallas Kimball. They're both about the same size. Of course, Morris is a little bit more skilled and has a little bit more pepper on his on his salad. Well, but Arsenal supporting cast. This Beaumont United team is led by 3 underclassmen. Arsenal, and you have Wesley Yates Jr. and you have Traylon Porsche. All 3 of these young men have size. All 3 of these young men are interchangeable on a lot of components in the court. And all 3 of them, they don't get in each other's way. Porsche is the enforcer. He's the football player. He's the 2-sport star that has Power 5 offers right now in football, right? And he's only in the 10th grade, mind you. He's about 6'5"-ish. Wesley Yates is about 6'4"-ish. And he's one of the top 5 players in the area in his class. They both sophomores. Arsenal is a junior. And the thing is, none of these guys will have played in front of this type of arena, this type of crowd before. So it's going to be intriguing because sometimes the brighter the lights, it can make some people, some kids, they can either turn back into 10th and 11th graders, or they can turn into state champions. And that's what the platform will yield for them on Friday evening.
Yeah, I agree completely because I was talking earlier about how I feel that, San Antonio and just the playoffs atmosphere, someone generally just pops up and becomes a player and it's very interesting for me to see does a Wesley Yates or does a Traylon Porsche, do they step up to the occasion and do they kind of stamp their name as obviously Traylon is a big time football player, but does one of them kind of step up and make that hump we've seen every year? There's always that one kid that is just oh yeah, your stock done really rose. So I'm definitely interested, to see with Beaumont United, and that's why I do feel like some of the underclassmen will step up and perform. Obviously, I live in Dallas, and Nick and Kimball, those are my guys, but I do have Beaumont United just with the edge there. But I do think it'll be a hell of a game.
I mean, you don't understand. Beaumont United has been hitting people with. They've been clubber-langing folks this year. Most understand. If you're good, I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm curious. I'm gonna go and I'll get Doug Jones to pull it up today and find out how many games have Beaumont United played this year where it was a single-digit game where it came down to the 4th quarter. So the objective for Kimball is to get up in there and be able to either take control of the game or be right there close. Because we don't know how Beaumont United can play if it's a close game. Because most of their games have been knockouts. I mean, they've been hammering guys. And you think of okay, how good is Beaumont United? Who what have they done this year? And we're talking about a team that they've played some competition on it. This is not a team that well, okay, well, they aren't battle tested yet. We don't know what they can do. You know, I think, as I mentioned about Huffman, Beaumont United, not only do they have the talent, they also have a coach who's been there and done that before as well.
True.
You have David Green. And then not only you have David Green, you got the support staff. Them assistant coaches, they merged. They got some Ozan coaches. You got some old Central coaches, and everybody gets along. They've bought in. I don't know. When is the last merger of or consolidation of two schools from the Dallas, the DFW area? Is it in what school that merged that still was able to advance and keep their status as a statewide power? I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Not merged and became a statewide power.
Which one?
I said I'm not sure. I don't know of any that merged and became a statewide power. That's
well, that's not easy to do. Then you follow me? Because I know we've had other schools that have done it, and you get a little. I'm not talking about a school that come up, a Shadow Creek. That wasn't a merger.
Right.
That wasn't a consolidation. They didn't sacrifice. That means there was two sacrificial lambs to create your school. And the alumni don't really. All alumni don't embrace that type of stuff. So because it's like, man, won't you change this? Why would you change that? Why we got to merge with them? We don't like them. They don't like us. It's the Hatfields and McCoy. And then you think about everything that Beaumont has went through over the past 2 to 4 years. Guys, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but Beaumont was underwater twice. Underwater. We're talking about 4 or 6 feet of water, the whole city, pretty much. Twice in the past 4 years. Yeah. That means some people lost everything and almost tried to recover, and before they can even recover, lost everything again. So these guys are resilient. Not to say that Dallas Kimball isn't. Don't get it twisted. No, I'm talking about the story. Sometimes you root for the story. And that's the thing that I'm seeing now. Once again, like you said, the stage is set. Who's going to be the guy that rises up and assumes that role after the event over with? Everybody's going to say, you know what? That dude, this is where you get anointed at.
Right. There you go. That's the word. That's the word. Anointed.
This is where it happens. And some people say, well, you made it here. This is where you get anointed. Everybody doesn't have good games here. But this is where you have the opportunity to have that good game. Yeah. And so everybody will be watching. Dallas Kimball, truly, I think they're playing with house money. Honestly.
I agree.
I don't think I think just go and have fun, play your game. If we beat Amarillo, we can beat these guys. But then at the same time, Beaumont United playing your game, they don't understand. Beaumont United is known for controlling the tempo. They are not trying to rush into opportunities. They're managing the clock. If there was trust me, there's going to be some people that's going to say, man, I wish we had a shot clock. Beaumont United's going 25 seconds deep into their clock.
So you say we're going to hear some boos, Coach?
No, but it's not. They're not going to hold the ball on the hip. They're not going to do that. Yeah. They're going to be running their wheel, and they're running their wheel, look for the spot. They're going to pass it.
Yeah.
And certain guys have the green light to shoot the ball in certain spots, but they don't worry if there's one guy. There's been games with Beaumont United, multiple games that they've won this year. When I say multiple, at least 4. Mm-hmm. Well, Wesley Yates only had 6 points or less. At least 4 or 5 times this year. 6 points or less. He doesn't have to score for them to win. Terrence Arsenault has to have a good game for them to win. He don't have to have a great game. He has to have a good game. And Traylon Porsche, Like last night, he had 20 points last night. Terrence Arsenault had 26. Wesley Yates had 11. That's 57 points between those three guys. That matched the whole output of their opponent last night. But I tell you one name. That's the X factor for Beaumont United. And that would be a 12th grader named Kendrick Henry. He's the X factor on Friday night. He's an unsigned senior that's about 6'3". Mm-hmm. He's athletic. He's tough. And once again, he can play himself into a scholarship to an NAIA school or a JUCO that with ease. The platform is right for him, for players like him. But I like this matchup though.
No, I do really enjoy it. That's that. Like I said, that for me is the main one. Kimball's other, I talked to this Nick and I talked to Gerald, the assistant coach, the other week, and I was just like, we're kind of just looking at it, and I was like, man, just looking at y'all roster, man, y'all can get to the championship game. And he was just like, yeah, you okay? And I was like, man, y'all really make a run at it. I wouldn't be surprised. And then, like you said, just seeing them win, and then they get another one. And being Lancaster was huge, and then that had to go to OT, and then another OT win versus Amarillo. Like you said, they're really playing with house money. They're going out there, and it's an anomaly to really see a team that lost 10 games during the season go against a team that's undefeated, and really they're just the underdogs into that situation. So, but yeah, they're definitely playing with house money, real talented. I'm going to really enjoy that game. Kind of want to talk to you, Mr. Hicks, about, just what are some memories, in the state, in the state championship, the semifinals and finals that, really just pop out to you?
Well, it started off, one thing about it, you always remember your first. I mean, not necessarily my first state championship, but the first, I'm talking about since the turn of the millennium. Mm-hmm. It's a new era as we grew into the technology age. But the first, starting with 2000, the memory has to rest on the shoulders of the Willow Ridge Eagles. And that state tournament during that time, it was at the Irwin Center on the campus of the University of Texas. Well, that particular year in 2001 state tournament, it was wild. It was Willow Ridge had made their run and had won the slam dunk to the beach holiday tournament up in Delaware twice. And at that time, Willow Ridge they were number 2 in the country behind Oak Hill, TJ Ford, Daniel Ewan, Kenny Taylor, Curtis Walker, and all those guys, Tree Rollins, they were the measuring stick. However, Dallas had a team that was led by 2 11th graders at that time, and they were the next. They were part of the next movement because Houston had 2001 was dominating as far as the talent level in comparison in the state. It wasn't a city in the country that had more talent in 2001 than Houston, as far as even when you look at it, if you want to read the book backwards and think about how many of them played pro ball or made it to the NBA from out of that class out of 2001 that played in the NBA for either for a cup of coffee or for a career. And that 2001, you had Emeka Okafor, you had John Lucas Jr., you had TJ Ford, Daniel Ewan played with the Clippers for a cup of coffee. You had Lawrence Roberts was in on that class. He got drafted by the Memphis Grizzlies. That's off the top. That's 5. That's off the top of my head. I know I'm missing somebody. That's NBA from one city. Now, the young team from out of Dallas had all of 2002, all of the 5. So they were all jumping at the bit. And it was like, wait your turn. But it's like everybody, a lot of people around the state was like, wait a minute. This team from Dallas is called the Colony. The Colony had Bracy Wright and D. Williams, Darren Williams. And that was the backcourt at the Colony. Well, this team was expected to meet Willow Ridge in the state finals. It never transpired because the Colony got upset in the first game. The Willow Ridge almost got upset, needed, I think, overtime or something to beat Converse Judson there at the state final. And that was a memory that set the tone, because the state was so hot at the time and rich with talent. Mind you, that 2002 class, it wasn't just Bracy Wright and Darren Williams. That following year, the state tournament, Dallas proved so, because Dallas Lincoln with Coach Bishop came there with Chris Bosh, Byron Hopkins, and then you had another state in other classification. You had the Horton, Daniel Horton was part of that class, and his little brother at Cedar Hill, and so those are one memory. Another memory, Ani, was the 2004 state tournament and that did a lot for the state of Texas, because that was around the time where Hal Pastner had just started the Academy National Invitational, maybe a year or so before then. And you had Milby High School met up in the finals against Cedar Hill. Jones High School came with Daniel Gibson. So you had two McDonald's All-Americans that took their team to the state championship. Both won. And it was climatic. That was a memory. Go up to 2006, I think, when Nick Wise, Kingwood made it to the state championship. They went there to the state tournament 3 or 4 years in a row, and they played against Plano West, and the little kid named John Roberson John Roberson went and made a name for himself in that state. Once again, he was already a name. He solidified himself as a player by, I guess I would say, out dueling Nick Wise. Nick Wise had a last second shot at the buzzer that went in the rim, honey, and rolled around the rim, and the English on the ball scooted it back out. It was unbelievable how that ball rolled around twice and scooted back out. You remember that? Also, you go forward, you remember other state championship that you fast forward to 2000 and 2010, that magical championship run by the Jack Yates Lions. That was phenomenal. That came right after Willie Warren had led a couple of years before. They had led single-handedly won a state title with his team down there, one of the best performances ever. You remember that Yates team? That was magical, because that was the largest crowd to ever watch a high school basketball game in the state of Texas, was that Yates Lions game against Dallas Kimball. And that's when old Snoop Johnson was coaching, when Joe Young went to the locker room and before they can give him the concussion test and tell him, no, you done, he jumped off the table, ran down the back tunnel, and ran through onto the court. And it was ironic how the basketball guard set the tone, that as he was running through the tournament, his dad stopped, didn't want to embarrass himself, so he stopped at the end of the tunnel and let him run, but it was a dead ball. So as he ran to the bench, the coach looked at him and just summoned him straight to the scores table. He never got to stop. So the doctors could never come and retrieve him from that. And he went in there, and Yates went on like a massive 17-2 run to close out the deal and win that state championship. That was magical. Those are some of the moments you remember from the state tournament, man. That was just taking you to 2010. Sure, we had some more in the recent years though as well.
Man, those memories. I did hear about, and just I went back, kind of read some about, how loaded Houston was in 2001, just with the just with the guys that went professionally. And I know about the battles, just between the schools out of Dallas and Houston at the time. But let's do some comparison. At that time, you go 2000, let's go 2010, and now we go 2011 to 2021. Talk about, and that doesn't necessarily have to be about just the state championship atmosphere, and we can go on that, but just the play, like where has, from those first 10 years to now to the last 10 years, where has there been difference in play?
Well, it's been difference in play lately. First of all, you're not in Austin in the Irwin Center anymore. So you're in San Antonio, which is a much bigger venue, 4 to 5 times larger than the Irwin Center. for its capacity. So the intimacy of the state championship or the state tournament is no longer there. That's a big venue, and it's the Alamos Dome, guy. And it feels like you're playing basketball in a football stadium. And it really does. So somehow that needs to be restored in basketball from the UIL. They need to. They found an intimate spot for football, and that is up in the Texas Stadium. Well, they need to find. There's plenty of places around Texas. Hell, you got the Dickies Arena up in Fort Worth. That's one of the new Taj Mahals of basketball. They can rotate this thing and put it in 2-year intervals. Put it in each city for 2 years. You can run from San Antonio or Austin, Dallas, DFW, Greater Houston. You can run that thing in 2-year intervals, and that would be sufficient enough. That way, now it gets a chance to economically support the community of each one of those areas. It also doesn't let it go stale, because it's the going back to the University of Texas or the new stadium that they're building. That's a moot point because of the South by Southwest Music Festival or the entertainment festival that takes place. So they have encompassed and superseded that. The only way that would happen is for the UIL to move the dates, and for them to move the dates, that's not going. Even if they moved it 1 week, you got to move the girls back. It's just so much to do because there's a huge track meet that takes place during spring break the following weekend. So UIL only have so many employees. So they're not moving. So I think that the change of venue of cities is one of the things that kind of took a lot of the fears out of the state tournament. I think also a lot of the players nowadays, you have more schools that are open that have been open since the turn since 2010. So you have more now, more diversification. You still have certain powers that be the Duncanvilles and the Austin Westlakes, and such, and Dallas Kimballs and whatnot. But you have more. I think it's more. You see every year. Look at the 4A right now. Huffman. Is in there. Now you see Amarillo. Amarillo came from within 4 quarters of making it there. Hell, they would have technically. Amarillo would have been at the state tournament if there was one. I think this and also the kids now, what they're playing for, they're getting there. I think that if there was a way to if more of the colleges in Texas if they were influenced by the TABC and they got together and say, listen, college coaches, somehow we need you guys to. If it would be a perfect world, it would be mandatory for a college coach from each staff in Texas to be present at the state tournament. You follow me? However, they're doing their conference tournaments during the same weekend normally for March Madness. But if one person, like if the NCAA can say, you know what, we'll let your operations guy go on the road. He can go to the state tournament only or something. Somehow that means now that unsigned senior who's playing his butt off and he's made it to that point, he would have an opportunity to level the playing field and use that as what is known as it's an audition for the have-nots. And that audition can land you a free education for up to the next 4 years or more.
Yeah, that would actually be a tremendous thing. And like you said, so there was the kid that's at SFA right now. I forgot his name, but he had a huge state about 2 years ago.
Oh, you're talking about Kyrie Mcdaniel?
Yes.
Oh, no, you're talking about Kyrie Mcdaniel. Then you had his teammate. Yeah.
Yeah.
They both from Klein Forest High School. Yeah.
Right. That was at Klein Forest. Right. And you know how many opportunities would definitely be present if you had every coach in state, even if it's the ops guy, right, just there. And you know, and they'll help those schools too, because you know you get to find you know, a diamond in the rough, or you get to find something, because you know, as you know, like college coaches, you know, they're trying to figure it out now. You know, they're like, who's available, who's there. So I definitely would. I would love to see that addition. I think that would be. I think that would be huge.
And Calvin Solomon is the young fella's name.
Yeah, Calvin Solomon. That's the kid. Yeah, I remember he had a huge playoffs in the state tournament. He was big time, and you know, got to really show his versatility.
And breaking news. Speaking of Kyrie McDaniel, he has in the past 12 hours, he has entered into the transfer portal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
From SF after being there 2 years.
Okay. There we go. We got some break news. I appreciate that. That's interesting. He's someone that his phone's probably ringing a lot. I know your phone's probably ringing a lot. So, but let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about you know, you got the icebreakers back. You know, COVID kind of took that away from us last year, but it's back. I know you got 300 plus teams this year. Just talk about, you know, we're back going. The club season's coming, and just how the term is shaping up. Spring icebreaker.
That's this event was actually my first event that I put together. This was a spring icebreaker. My very first. Once again, I said a while ago, people remember their first. And we started the first spring icebreaker in March of 2001. Okay. And Ani, I think, speaking of, I think I got something. I'm gonna go in my coffers right here, and maybe I might be able to make you smile if I go in my office, and if I'm able to find this thing what I'm looking for. But anyway, I thought I may be able to pull out one of the programs. The very first spring icebreaker.
Hey.
You see what date that says?
Yeah.
You see? At the time, college coaches could come out. Mm-hmm. You see? It was NCAA certified at the time. Yep. And you had to get approval from the UIL to do events for college coaches to come out in the spring. Okay. And the UIL at the time, you had to go through the UIL to get that approved. And this is one of the programs. And you know, we had the rosters in there. And then this was back in 2001. It's 20 years ago. This is the original. This is the schedule. So I think we had 12 teams. Mm-hmm. But it was this event was designed not for grassroots. It was designed for high school teams, like you have fall ball.
Yeah.
My vision was at the time to present an opportunity for the high schools in the area to be able to get a sneak peek at their projected teams for the following season.
Okay.
So this was a way to, to this that way now it can help some players on the bubble. They can play their own, or they can go on and put themselves out their misery. Might want to transfer or do whatever they need to do. Go get your game up and come back. So that's what, and we started off with, it was all high school teams, and then we had unsigned seniors because college coaches would come for the unsigned seniors, and then it evolved, and it evolved to the point where, we tried to hold on to the high school concept as long, maybe for about 8 years. We held on to it. We even allowed the high school players to play with both. If you play with your high school teams, you still can play with the other one because I just schedule those games first. That there's no or they'll play last, the high school divisions. But this thing is a 20th year. It's grown into a signature event. This is my signature event. Every event operator in the country that's been doing events for a number of years. At some point in time, you say, what's their signature? They're known by their signature event. If you think of Mike Kunstad, and he's known for his signature event is the Great American Shootout, right? Rick Nelson is known for the Pearland Classic, right? And everybody has a signature event that they do. Well, this event now we have about 340 teams this year. We had right at 400. We ended up bumping about 50 teams out this past weekend. Because seriously, just bumped them out. Teams who didn't first time teams never hardly heard of them. They signed up, hadn't heard from them no more. You bump them out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you put a schedule out and they say, "Oh, by the way, we forgot to tell you we wasn't playing." Nah, that's all right. we gonna let you know.
I know that feeling.
So you don't let. That's what I call you. Don't let a team hold you hostage on an event. I'd rather put you out and add a team called TBA in your slot. That way if somebody else come, I just bump them in the TBA slot. That's what I do in my schedule. And that way you can proceed with doing your scheduling. We have teams coming from all over the country. We have Florida. We have teams from Chicago. We have teams from Utah. We have a couple of teams from California. We have Georgia. They be in the house. Of course, Louisiana, Mississippi is in the house. So a lot of states are represented at the Spring Icebreaker. So that means what that does is for our kids in this region, it gives them an opportunity. To play instead of traveling all over the country. We induce the country to come to you. And now it makes it. That's how you create and you keep it grooving. Keep the candle lit. It's going to be. We have almost 30 courts. Be going on for the events over 3 days. It's going to be a lot of talent. We picked up a couple of the public schools, which this might be as of. Of course it's going to be because the state is officially opened up now. So, right. But it was not easy to get a high school or a public school to open their doors, 5-6 months ago, right in the midst of the pandemic. So we were able to do so based on our relationship with a couple of school districts. So we have at the Spring Icebreaker, this is the 20th year. We have complimentary rapid COVID tests on the outside of almost every of the locations.
Okay.
That means you have the option to take a rapid COVID test if you're that concerned about your safety.
Mm-hmm.
And we have separate armbands for people that do take the COVID test. So that way, if you didn't take one, or if you did take one, you can look over another guy's arm and if you chose to sit next to him or not. That's on you.
Right.
So this is the little things that we have in place for the Spring Icebreaker. It's going to be some great games. We have showcase divisions for the high school age teams. That means everybody play 3 games. And we have a tournament division. Well, in every tournament division, in a way to show appreciation to the community and support, we came up with the idea of form of revenue sharing.
Okay.
Revenue sharing. We're giving out we're donating $1,000 to the program that wins each and every division of the Spring Icebreaker. So those are donations. That means that comes in handy. You get $1,000 if you win the tournament. That can go toward entry fees. That can go toward replenishing some of the expenses that they took over the weekend. You can come buying T-shirts. You can buy your own trophy if you want to.
Right.
That's the Spring Icebreaker, March the 19th through the 21st in Houston. And we're like I say, you can go to RCS Sports, but more conveniently, you can download the RCS Sports app, and you can not only see every team that's registered, but you also will be able to view the schedule and the venues. Everything is in that app. That's the RCS Sports app. Download that app, and you get everything you need. The schedule, we're targeting the releasing of schedule for, we normally do it on that Sunday of the state tournament. So Sunday is when I'm thinking about releasing, but I could release it before then. My goal is to have it 99% done by the time I get on the plane to go to San Antonio this weekend. So we'll see how that goes on that. But it's a lot of work in putting that thing together, honey, by hand. I'm looking at my desk right now. Look, let me give you some.
Yeah.
Let me show you some. Look. I got my request, my problem and solution thing.
Yeah.
Look, I got my notes. I scribble. Look, this is by hand. People don't realize I do all this stuff by hand. I go and I type this stuff up. These are already my brackets are already formatted. Look, I format this stuff for every age division. We got a different. I print this thing out and color code it. This is where it starts at. A lot of people don't realize the work that goes into some of this stuff. I don't just throw it into the app and hit the button. I do all this stuff on paper first and then proceed from there. Then you have a sheet like this. How many teams you got? You see what I'm saying? And how many I need at a certain position. If I'm over, request, people trying to get in, wait list down there. All that right there. That's the icebreaker. But you guys, a lot of these players who are playing at the state tournament have played and will play in the spring icebreaker. This is like an annual family reunion. And it launches and it starts off the high school, the season, the grassroots season. It's going to be a great atmosphere. We also have a lot of guys, a lot of basketball influencers from around the country will be flying in to cover the games, which once again, providing an opportunity for exposure for your kids. And we hope we get on in the building.
Because I'm gonna be there. You already. I told you in the summer I'm gonna be there. Yeah, no, most definitely be there. I'm excited about it. Like I said, it was some. We didn't have anything till June, so the term we couldn't get to the spring icebreaker last year, but definitely excited about coming in and watching. There's gonna be a whole lot of evals that I'll be able to do. It's always and one thing about it, Ms. Higgs, is that the hospitality is A1. That's one thing you do provide for your event. So definitely just excited to come down. I'm actually have to be in Tennessee for a little bit, but I'm flying down. I'll be there that Friday night, be able to catch some, but I'll be there that weekend. So definitely excited about it.
Man, so that's pretty much it, man. And then also get myself ready. I'm looking at what I'm doing now. You took me to a blast to the past. I'm actually looking at the rosters from some of the teams that played 20 years ago. I'm reading some of these names. Oh, really? Make me feel old, man. I'm looking at a team full of unsigned seniors. I mean, check these names out. Mm-hmm. You had Tim Simon, from Klein Forest. You had Jermaine Hawkins. You had Chris Gray, Terry Stussy, Nick England. You had Varick Gray from Smiley, Micah Debe from Elsick. All them guys on the same team. You had how about this Hightower team? That's an unsigned senior team. And this team from Hightower, this team ended up going to state. Willow Ridge went twice, 2000 and 2001. Well, Hightower went in 2002 and 2003. Greg Wise was the coach at Hightower at the time. Right? And after Greg Wise left Hightower, then David Peavy came and took over at Hightower, and that's when he ended up getting DJ Augustine because of the Hurricane Katrina, and they had a nice season as well. But this Hightower team had Lanny Smith, Michael Yume, Larry Evans, Chudy Chinweezy, Cedric Fears. I mean, these guys made it to the Matt Bell. They made it to state. Playing together back at that time helped build that. North Shore Mustangs, they made it to the regional final. Marcus Ebo was the leader of that team. He played in the spring icebreaker with that team as well. The Bel Air Cardinals, Emeka Okafor.
Yeah.
Emeka, who was a late signee, and he played in the spring icebreaker.
I didn't know he was a late signee.
Yeah. Emeka Okafor played with that Bel Air Cardinal team, the Wheatley Wildcats. I'm just looking, with Man and Haywood Vital, with Chip Cartwright. That's my little cousin, played on that team. Hey, How about Heritage Christian? Jerome Tang had his group in there with Heritage Christian. He had Lamar Hurd, Cedric Hensley, Tim Mays, Elijah Miller. I mean, guys, it was, and you know what? And I might bring this back next year. I don't have time now. One of the divisions, some teams that they have unsigned seniors, and know what I did, Ani? I broke them down into a school district and let the school districts have their own all-stars. And the different school districts play in the pool together. You know, that way it creates some camaraderie. I might bring that back next year. And a high school division for unsigned seniors, probably just from the same school district. And that way you patch up. That way they need to practice. They all have to probably live in the same vicinity.
That'd be a big time idea. I didn't know they did that was something that they did back in the day. That'd actually be real clever. You'll see some really high level. That'd be a really high level, like when you go by section, you can get some real high level teams and high level games in that situation. You know, that'd be really interesting. You kind of gave me back. I feel like I went to a time machine. Like some names I remember you used to mention to me, Mr. Branch. You know, so I was like, yeah, I remember hearing about that name. I remember kind of googling this kid, that kid. So, that was greatly appreciated. Like I said, I'm excited about it. Appreciate you as always. You know, you've always given me advice. You always, tell me, you just be truthful to me. So definitely appreciate you. Excited be at your events and see you next week.
All right, man. See you. Y'all be good, man. Peace. Time me to get ready to get for the chop shop, man.
All right, go ahead.
All right.
All right, guys. Now we got Alan Branch on here. I know it's a little late. I'm going to get on him a little bit about that, but let's get him on. We'll talk some Dallas high school basketball. Coach, what's up? Then we got him on mute. Still on mute. Still on mute, Coach. Hold on. Okay. Coach, you have to unmute yourself.
There we go. Yeah. All right. There we go.
There you go.
I was walking out of one situation, and then we walked into this situation. So I was kind of monitoring where y'all were going. I wasn't too late. I didn't mess you up, did I?
No, you good because you didn't mess us up. You came right on time. We good.
Okay. All right. Well,
I told him I was going to give you a hard time, but I decided not to.
I can take it. Big skin, like leather.
So, no, I was talking to Jim Hicks about, Houston basketball, just going back into the history, everything, how it was from 2001 to 2010, and then going 2011 to 2021. But we'll touch on that later, but I also wanted to just talk about some of the games you've seen, some of the guys that stood out to you, your overall perspective on this how the playoffs have been this season, especially navigating through COVID.
It's a funny thing, in basketball, we talk not to make excuses, and the interesting piece on all this is, and I see it at the collegiate level, and I see it at the high school level, I see it at junior college level, across the board, the COVID has impacted or created an environment that teams and players are not playing at their best. The rhythm where teams are defensively, there's still a little bit of lack of solidity, if there's a such word, that doesn't exist of how things are done, the rotations, what's going on. You practice, you don't practice, game cancels, over here, over there. That's what I see overall. There's just so much change. I mean, that it automatically, from an environmental type thing, it just affects the way things are happening. We've been resilient, and we're going to have a season. We're having state championships. We're trying to have an NCAA tournament, and we're working our way through it. And thank God for that. But that's what I would say is even the best teams or the most talented teams or the most personnel heavy groups haven't even been their best. There's a lot of things that still need to be cleaned up. Probably won't get cleaned up this year in the programs. I mean, and that's all across the board. There's just not the crispness on what's going on. Obviously, I live in a world of recruiting. Recruiting is going to be extremely awkward and unprecedented, and it would just have to look at it like that. I don't know exactly, what you're asking, but I mean that's what I have observed and seen is that we're just looking. I mean, I watched Duncanville High School last night. They, play about as bad as they can play, and they win by 20. And you said when I say they were bad, defensive rotations were suspect here and there. They were very not strong with the ball, as David likes to call it. There was just some things there. I mean, they had spurts, but the careless with the ball, the turnovers, just not a little nervous in EC type thing. I think they will settle down and come into more. I was a little disappointed. I thought David Martinez had done a really good job defensively with his team and had them going in a direction. But I saw Westlake and Tim and I watched Westlake and Duncanville in game 1 down on the neutral site of the Division II college there. Saw that. You look at the situation of Kason Wallace and what's the other 22-20? Rylan Griffin last night just never got any type of rhythm in place. I think the one thing that Duncanville High School does is that they create a pace that probably, I don't know, 80, 85, 90% of your high school programs are not interested in maintaining or being a part of or being able to play at that kind of a level. I remember a guy named George Carl was in basketball years ago. So everybody wants to play fast, but very few people can play fast and think fast at the same time. And Duncanville that's probably everybody said, oh, they're loaded. Yeah, they got some good players. We got some young players that are still immature, make some bad decisions. They still have some prickly things, but their ability or David's ability to get them to play fast and think fast, which I think some of them are still struggling with, playing fast. They just make enough of the right plays to overcome a whole lot of some of the bad plays that they make. And their pace imposes that. Lucero, I think I'm pronouncing his name right, is a great X and O guy at Westlake that has a solid amount of talent prepared. It'll be really, really interesting to watch that game. I've had a chance to watch Kimball High School on multiple occasions this year. Probably seen them play 6-7 times. Beaumont United, I'll get to them here in a second. The Kimball situation, I tell people all the time, anytime that you have the ability in a high school situation or even at the NBA situation, what y'all call it, the big 2, the big 3 or whatever, when the franchises gather their talent, you look at a situation where anytime you have the ability to walk onto the court and 9 times out of 10 are going to have the 3 most talented guys in the game. That's where Kimball actually is. They'll play Beaumont Wesley Yates, is the correct name. Yeah, 2023 kid, shoots the ball well. Decent facilitator too at the same time. The Arsenal kid, a talented wing that can score and impact the game on both ends. But I think what you're looking at in that situation, you got two things. If I had to say what it is in that game that will end up making the decision, and you correct me on the name, honey. The
Okay.
5-star football kid, Kyren something.
Kyren Henderson.
Kyren Henderson and David Green's experience. Those are the two things in that situation that will balance out of the deal. I think you kind of on paper want to say, hey, let's advantage Kimball on the court, but then you got an older seasoned coach that has played and won multiple state championships and been involved in those situations that you cannot compromise. But I think Nick Smith is in a situation where he has the support and the personnel and the tradition. Don't overlook tradition, because what tradition does is tradition creates expectations, and expectations create effort and confidence, and you'll bring you only, when people have expectations about something, they have no problem exerting or committing themselves to make something happen in the right way or good way, or however you might want to say it. But that situation, the disappointing piece on Faith Family losing that game was interesting. And I was talking to another one of my collegiate buddies that was somewhat familiar. He said, well, probably shooting, but I'm just surprised. I mean, you catch someone on a wrong night, and you're beatable. I mean, it happens all the time in this business, and it just is what it is. But I have got a chance to watch some players. I think the young, talented kids over at Duncanville have so much more left in their tank from a developmental standpoint. It'd be really, really important what happens with those kids this summer or during the club season when we move out of scholastic season. Because like I say, there's probably 4 kids on that Duncanville team, and I'll even move over to the Kimball team. When you look at Arterio Morris, NBA prototype talent type kid, that his ceiling or potential, that's the word, and his acumen and his consistency has not come close to fulfilling that. But he has an opportunity. Chauncey, I can't think of Chauncey's last name now. The older brother, Gibson, right? Yeah, that's correct. Chauncey Gibson. I mean, it's one of the disappointing things that I can't quite put my finger on, and I'm not sure what you and Jimmy were talking about, but I heard y'all say that y'all were talking about maybe basketball from 95 to 2000, 2000 to 2005, or some window of time. There's a weird unfortunately that we talk about pandemics and epidemics and things out there. There's a weird unfortunately right now about the underdeveloped amount of talent that I observe. Be interested if Jimmy was here. I don't know if Jimmy would agree with me. I guess it doesn't really matter because I know what I'm looking at, what I'm saying. Is that there are more kids now with high major size, high major athleticism, or we can say Division I size, Division I athleticism, mid-major. There are more kids with the God-given ability to really contribute highly at the next 1 and 2 levels that will remain after you leave high school that are extremely underdeveloped in who they are emotionally and psychologically, and the overall confidence and IQ and understanding how to execute all of the vast amount of tools that they have. You know, Jason Thurkill is a perfect example. He plays in the program that you are with there. You know, tremendous amount. And so I scratch my head right now. What is it that is going on that a Jason Thurkill or what's the big kid that's heard a lot over at Duncanville High School? Barnes. What is it that the Barneses and the Chauncey Gibsons and Arterio Morrises and the Jason Thurkills, and I don't have a list in front of me. These guys are all a part of I'd give you the kid, even though he's doing well with what he has to work with down at Beaumont United. What is it that these kids aren't reaching the same level of fulfillment? I'll use Walker Sloan. Everybody on this call probably knows who Walker Sloan is. Walker Sloan's probably didn't have the same amount of God-given ability that a lot of these kids have that we're throwing out there, but he was a more consistent performer than where, now one kid I'll give credit to is the kid that plays with Texas Impact, who is a reclass kid, the Jennings kid, Robert Jennings. A little bit more maturity and commitment to performing. But I think the 6A game, we'll have Westlake and Duncanville High School 5A game. You'll have Beaumont United and Kimball High School. Real intriguing one. That's on Friday night. Really, really intriguing. Talent on both sides. You know, you got 5 really solid players that I would say all 5 of those guys are top 25 according to their class in the state of Texas or Texas boys basketball rankings. Am I right on that, Andy?
Yeah, you're right on that.
Yeah. Anytime you're a top 25 kid, everybody argues about where their kid is ranked, and that's why I'm excited about the ratings that we'll develop in the next 1, 2, or 3 years. Ratings will be a lot more interesting than ranking. But anytime you're in the top 25 of ranking, you basically traditionally have had a chance to be a mid plus, or what we like to call now in the business a power 6, power 7 level player over the years. And when you look at all those guys, even though the one kid at Kimball will probably is a power 5 football recruit, but he's a little bit like the kid that was athletic kid that was at Rosenberg Terry a few years back, played with the Under Armour group. Griffin was his last name. Can't call his first name. He's a pretty much has high major potential in 2 sports. Vince Young was somewhat close to that. Martellus Bennett was a power 5 guy on the gridiron and on the hardwood. That's the interesting thing I'll say about that one. So that's 6A, 5A, and then we move over to 4A, where we feel like there was an upset with the Argyle team. So Argyle will be playing against who, honey?
They'll be playing against Huffman.
Huffman or Kaufman?
Huffman.
Huffman. That makes a whole lot more sense. actually typed the wrong thing in on that UIL deal last night. I thought Huffman makes a lot more regional sense. I said, how in the world are they playing there? Yeah. Not Kaufman right here on 175, but Huffman down outside of Beaumont in that Region 3 should be probably. Yeah, makes a lot more sense. Yeah, so I mean that's the overall perspective. Are there any glaring things that people or general audience is debating or concerned or feel like that's not the lay of the land? Or what are your thoughts? What did Jimmy have to say? What Brian Burton have to say? What all you gurus have to say about this situation?
Just as far as it seems like, so I thought the 5A game on Friday night was the most interesting one in my opinion with Beaumont United and Kimball.
Mm-hmm.
You got a real, like you said, you got a handful of just Division I talent, like you said, top 25 guys in the state of Texas, in the respective class. So definitely interested to see there. Kimball, Higgs made a point and said, Kimball lost 10 games this season. They're going to get Beaumont United, who's 30-0. So he said, Kimball, Kimball playing with house money.
That sounds about like Jimmy right there. Jimmy's a homer. It's hard to get a lot of neutrality out of him on situations. But I think what I would add to that situation is you also have to look at strength of schedule. Who has Beaumont United played? In a pandemic environment. Kimball's been in an environment where they have consistently been matched up. I would go out on a limb, on a very thin limb, after a full meal, and say that if you look at strength of schedule, it's not even close.
Okay.
Now, between what Kimball has had to play against and what Beaumont United has played against.
I would agree on
that. I'll say this: you got a less experienced postseason coach in Nick Smith, but I think players play and coaches coach, and so he's bringing players. And Nick has I want to say Nick is somewhere in the 300 win, 300 win deal. So I mean he has been coaching, and Nick has one thing. It's like you said, it's a unique matchup. A lot of dynamics here that people don't know how to expectations and tradition. Do you realize that Kimball High School has never lost a semifinal game in state championship? That was the 12th one in the history of the school.
Oh, wow.
They've never lose the first game. And that goes back to the old Coach Tubbs days. Say, guy, we don't not want to lose this one. We want to get our money's worth out of the trip when they used to go down and play 2 games. We don't know what's going to happen here. But guys, we cannot, as Coach Tubbs used to always say, we cannot lose in the first round and to go home and turn our hotel rooms in and go back home early. That cannot happen. So at Kimball, that's what tradition means, is to dig in. So one of the most proud things that the Kimball boys were proud of last night is that they did not let the tradition down. 12 games, 12 opportunities in a row in the history of Kimball Knight basketball. That's what made them. Those kids don't have a lot of playoff and state. There's nobody there that has ever experienced. That's another thing that's unique about this situation. There's nobody at Kimball High School on that team that has been a part of experiencing the tradition as an underclassman with little, and then growing into the process the way that other 11 years of guys had a chance to do. Where I was in the 9th grade and I was in 10th grade, I would pull up on the varsity. I didn't play that much, but I know what's expected. So, giving credit to Nick Smith and his group with Chauncey and Kyren and Arterio is that they have reignited the tradition, or not let the tradition down.
Yeah.
So there's that energy there. Now on the light side of it, David Green is a solid professional friend of mine. I mean, if I pick up the phone, we talk. We don't talk all the time, but I've known David for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
David's a hell of a basketball coach. And David's going to look at it. I would say that when you start talking about guys, like the David Martinez's, David Green is right up there in the conversation with some of the best of them. As far as his mind, his ability to prepare, his ability to adjust. A lot of people don't know a lot about David Green. He comes out of that old group with Joe Dumars, and he was a point guard on that McNeese State team. So, I mean, he thinks the game very well, so, I mean, there's a balance of 1 point. If we're throwing out points here,
yeah,
maybe I give Kimball a 3-point, 2-point, 3-point, 1 possession, less than 2 possession advantage here at best. Like to call it even to 1 if you want to really be honest about it. I'm not sure if that's appropriate when you actually are doing it. The game that nobody wants to talk about too much. They want to take it for granted. And I think if you take it for granted, you might be surprised, because I saw the first game, and that's Westlake and Duncanville. The thing that's sneaky about the situation with Duncanville, honey, is that if they grow up, see, you never know when a team or when a group of players or when a kid is going to grow up. It's kind of like, I remember my children, you never know when they're going to walk. You can say, when they're getting close to walking, they might walk any day now. But you don't know when they're going to walk. That's the scary thing about Duncanville. Now, if Duncanville shows up and become who they are and become their best Duncanville, Westlake got problems. If Duncanville is staggering and falling down and getting up and not doing those things, Westlake, Lucero is a good enough coach. He has enough talent. He's got weapons like the kid going to Kansas, KJ Adams. Is it the last name Adams?
Yeah, KJ Adams.
Yeah, KJ, right. Yeah, KJ is a solid enough of a 20 and 12 type kid, double type post. He reminds me of a kid. I don't know if he'll be that at Kansas. He reminds me of a kid that came out of the Midwest. He's actually on the coaching staff at Kansas right now.
Perry Ellis.
Perry Ellis. That's funny you bring it up. That's well, y'all gotta give money his props, man. He's growing at a fast pace. Fast pace. That's exactly right. Perry Ellis. Saw Perry Ellis. He played for the same summer group that Buddy Hill played for, some type of initials out of Indiana. But I saw him pretty much at the same time. And just skilled, physical, explosive enough, not a whole lot of wiggle, but a little bit has a military style cadence toward the game that is going to allow him to contribute. So that'll be interesting. Can Duncanville throw bodies at him? Absolutely. Does he have enough help? That's the real big question. And so all of these runs, the one thing that I think makes Duncanville vulnerable, and I saw it in the Waxahachie game, I've seen it all year long, that makes Duncanville vulnerable, is that most of the time, runs are always fueled by something or turned by something. Something comes about that causes the run to happen. And turnovers are probably the number one thing that ignite runs, because turnovers usually exist in create or generate the opportunity for transition defense to break down, or transition buckets to happen, which causes a lot of momentum and excitement. That's what Duncanville is vulnerable to are turnover runs. They turn it over, being careless with it, and allow guys to get hope back. In the Waxahachie game, they're up by 22, 23, 24 points. What was that number, honey? Do you recall?
They're up by 17.
At the half?
Waxahachie went on a 15-0 run.
So they never got up by any more than 17. They never up by 20 or more in their Waxahachie game?
I think they got up by 20-some, by 20. When they made the run, they got it within 2. They're up by 17. And then Waxahachie went on a 17-2 run.
But when they went in at the half, it was a tale of two halves when you watched that game.
They're up by 17.
So 17 points at the half. But they could have been up a little bit more than that before. Okay, that's fine. But the point was, when they came out of the half, once again, there goes your Duncanville staggering around, complacent, like somebody just woke them up out of deep sleep somewhere. And, just don't have the same sense of urgency. That's the thing that's scary about betting on a Duncanville team. I think you'll see a little less of that with Westlake. So that's 6A, 5A, 4A. The execution and what I was able to look back and what Argyle is able to do, not as familiar with a Huffman team. It'll be interesting. It's disappointing on Faith Family. Faith Family should have been a 6A, 5A, 4A, really good, clean look. One of the faults of Texas boys basketball, and one of the things that's not going to be so fun this year is that because we are a player evaluation type organization and not just a newspaper reporting entity, 1A, 2A, 3A don't get the same amount of attention. But what I always love to do, and I plan to do it this year, is want just to do it at the same level. In the 1A, 2A, and 3A games, there's always a kid that shows up that has not played club summer ball a lot of times or hadn't played a lot of it and has a chance. I remember there was a kid from White Oak.
Oh, yeah, Yancey.
Yeah. Was that his name? He went on to played at Tyler Junior College and left there and played at Northwestern. Yeah. That's a kid that we found in the 2A semifinals, and locked in and watched the board, ended up where we ended up. So that's one of the unfortunates. But, as we get vaccinated as a society and whoop this corona and get it back into place, and we'll return back to some sense of normalcy. But some things are progressing in a way that they'll never look exactly the same way that they did look. I mean, times bring about a change, but excited about going down to San Antonio and seeing what we're going to see there. Are there any questions that have been thrown out? Any controversy that I missed out on?
No, you didn't find any controversy.
Is that a pretty clean perspective on it, or?
A very clean perspective on it.
Okay. What did Jimmy Hicks say? Jimmy Hicks say anything crazy I need to jump on him about?
He was just talking about Huffman. He was talking about Houston. We were talking about the 5A. Then, I asked about Icebreaker. He went back. He took me back 2001 with the unsigned senior rosters and everything like that. And like I told him, I went into a time machine. So names you done told me, the names he done told me, names I done Googled, because I try to at least, obviously I wasn't around at that time, but at least I want to be familiar.
Yeah, I guess we was first Icebreaker in 2001 or 2003. He said one.
He said 2001.
Okay, maybe he's right. I don't recall the first one. You know what? It may have only been 2001. I don't recall the mainstream 17 U teams playing in it then.
Yeah, no, it was high school team.
There you go. Right. Okay. Now that makes a lot more sense. That's right. Because I remember what I do remember about it was the Icebreaker really gained is notoriety or its real traction with the unsigned senior division.
Right.
That became a very recruitable group. So there's a point guard that I always remember that ended up going to Coach East Junior College and then on to George Mason.
Well, Coach, we got it. We're closing down on the show on our time.
Okay, good. Hey man, I was going to work. All you gotta do is hit the pause, man. I got a long list of things. You and Tim Littlefield keep me busy. So I gotta go make sure I got the list right. I do everything I'm supposed to do.
No, for sure.
And we'll keep working it, man. You guys are doing a great job. Good to see you, honey, and proud of you, and proud of the contributions that you bring to basketball at this time nationally, but I think it eventually will have a global impact. But take care, man. Have a good rest of the day, and hope to talk to you soon. I'll see you in San Antonio.
Yes,
take
sir.
care.
Appreciate you as always.
Out.
All right, guys, we're off for today. Got a really good insight by Mr. Branch, Mr. Alan Branch, and Jim Hicks. We'll see you next week. This is the last episode for the Scholastic season, and we'll see you guys soon. Y'all take care.